Well, good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're watching us from. My name is Eileen Goldsberg from LCI, and I'll be your moderator today. We'd like to thank our friends from Hoylu for presenting. We really appreciate that on the second of our exhibitor webinar series. So there's a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go over before we get started. The first is that this webinar is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be available on our LCI Congress website, lcicongress.org/2022. If you go to the Hoylu logo, you'll see a red asterisk to the left of that logo. When the recording is ready, click on the Hoylu logo and you'll go directly to that recording. You'll notice the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. It's that long skinny box. There's a red arrow to the left of that. That's the minimization and maximization arrow. Please feel free to use that throughout the presentation so you can view the presentation more closely. At the bottom of your control panel, you'll also see the questions box. Please put any questions that you have in the questions box and they'll be answered at the end of the presentation. While we're going through the presentation, please think of any feedback that you have. We'll be doing a quick plus delta. For those of you who are not familiar with the term, pluses are things you thought added value to the presentation, and deltas are things that you think we should change to add more value to the presentation. In the spirit of continuous improvement, I know that LCI and Hoylu would like to get that feedback from you. So just a quick recap, this is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be available on our Congress website. When you click on Hoylu's logo, when it has the red asterisk to the left of it, you'll see the control panel, the minimization and maximization arrow. Please feel free to use that through the presentation to view it more closely, and the questions box at the bottom of the control panel. When you have any questions, put them in the box. They'll be answered at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and Zach. Thanks so much, you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Eileen. Appreciate the introduction. So I'm Zach Hurwitz. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Customer Success with Hoylu. And with me today, I have our Director of Customer Success, Ryan Kelly. And we're excited to connect with you today. I know we're a little tight on time, so we're going to cover a lot of information, try to go quickly, but at the same time, speak clearly. So if there's anything that interests you or is exciting, please feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to do a deeper dive with you outside of the webinar. So today what we're going to do is simplifying your pole planning with Hoylu. So the agenda today, we're going to go through just a basic introduction, talk about digitizing the big room experience, touch quickly on our dashboard and project setup functionality, do a live demo of how to pole plan in Hoylu, show you a little bit about our analytics, which would be our reporting functionality and weekly work plan functionality, and then if time, go into a little bit of Q&A. So let's jump right into it. So if everyone's seeing my screen here, I'm going to zoom out and we're going to go to this second slide here, which is a bit about our introduction into Hoylu. So I start off with, you can see here it says Hoylu wall. And so the reason why I start with this is just a little bit of the history as to how we got into the space to begin with. So about 6 or 7 years ago, we were really focused on the in-person collaboration room experience. So we had the solution called the Hoylu wall, which some of you may or may not be familiar with. It was a large-scale interactive projection system. Very popular with some of our construction clients. We did quite well in the space, and it came with some software, just more general collaboration software. One tool in particular was called Flow. It's a general sticky note tool, very intuitive, very easy to use. And what happened was quite interesting. We found that a lot of our construction customers were using this just general sticky note tool called Flow to digitize their pole plan process. And so we kept seeing it over and over again, and people kept asking for more specific functionality related to pole planning. And so it got to the point where we would, start to ask questions of, well, there are other tools out there that do this specifically. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? And the feedback was always it came back to a few different variables, but the big ones that stuck out to us were, simplicity, ease of use, and speed to adoption. It's great if a tool has a lot of functionality, but if you can't get your team to buy in and really use the tool, then it doesn't matter what it does. It's not going to really add value because no one's going to use it. And so that's something that Hoylu's always taken a lot of pride in, is developing tools that are first and foremost simple to use, and that are easy to get up to speed on. And so that's sort of how we got into the space. This video always makes me laugh because it's, again, about 6 or 7 years ago, and you can see someone using our old tool to digitize their process. So this was the beginning, and now we'll show you where we're at now. So Hoylu digitizing the pole plan, or digitizing the big room experience, excuse me. So this probably looks familiar to a lot of folks watching the presentation here. In your big room, you have a lot of various content that is relevant to the planning process or just the general collaboration process on the job site. And within Hoylu, right, if I zoom out, you have the ability to bring all those different assets in. So you can see here, I have a site plan that I can go in and collaboratively mock up with folks, right? I have a logistics map. So if I zoom in here, right, you can see we have a logistics map, right, that I can go in and work with in real time. We have a variety of other different types of content that all can help with the planning process, and even things as simple as Kanban boards, right? So I can go in with my different team members to do in progress done. All these things support the planning process, and within Hoylu you have the digital real estate to be able to bring all those assets in and kind of get creative. And so a good example of that, which Ryan and I can kind of demo on the fly, would be, let's say we wanted to do a quick problem-solving exercise, right? We wanted to do a quick A3, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So if I wanted to do an A3 in Hoylu, all I'd have to do is kind of just go find a blank area here, and I'll open up my toolbox, and you'll see I have this little template drawer here, and I'll go and I'll find an A3 template right here. I'll just simply drop that into the workspace. Click on it, and then if I look in the bottom right, you'll see I can see who's in the workspace with me live. So I can see Ryan's in the workspace with me, and I can also see Melissa, my colleague Melissa. She's in here too. And so if they wanted to come here and start doing an A3 with me, all they'd have to do is just click on my name, my little marble here. It would take them right over, and then we could each pick our own color sticky notes and go in and start to populate this in real time. So you can see this is Ryan up here writing his name, right? And then Melissa could come up and she could, grab a different color note and start to populate this. Same with Ryan. And so it's easy to get in, collaborate with your different team members, and again, add value to the overall process. But that's not, as you can see, a bunch of sticky notes populating here. The other nice thing too, with just kind of general overview of Hoylu, is you see this little bookmark icon right here. So if I, zooming out, outside of the planning area, you have like 50,000 pages that you can leverage as digital real estate, and that can get a little bit overwhelming for some people. What we've added recently is this bookmark functionality, and so I can just quickly jump around the workspace to whatever is relevant to me. And so what we're going to focus on today, of course, is actually using Hoylu for pole planning. And so to jump right over to that area, I'm just going to go to my bookmarks. I'm going to click on phase plan, and boom, it takes me over to my my blank pole plan. And so for this demonstration today, instead of showing you a fully loaded plan with a bunch of content pre-configured, I like to show it how easy it is to get started. And so this is what you would begin with. However, I do want to actually back up for a second and show you one other thing. So if I go back to my dashboard by clicking on the top left here, this is my Hoylu dashboard. And this is where I can create a new plan or additional workspace. And if you look down here on my, you can see these are all the workspaces that I've either created or have been shared with me. And in my instance, right, I've been with Hoylu for quite a while. I have a lot of them, so it can be a bit overwhelming. But what's nice, what we've done recently is, with feedback from our customers, is we've made it a lot easier to kind of kick off a project, right? Because we're going to focus on pole planning, but what if you have a large project and you need to have 6 or 7 plans or 8 or 9 different workspaces and you need to invite different people to different ones? That can be quite challenging from an administrative perspective, and we've made that a lot easier within our tool. So if I click on this arrow here, you can see I can filter down to my different projects, and all the projects that are associated, or all the workspaces that are associated with that project will show up right on my dashboard. not only for me, but also my team members, right? So if I click on project settings, that'll take me to my project dashboard. And this is where I can go in to my individual projects and I can invite my collaborators or my team members. So I can invite all of them to the project, and then I can invite, and then when they come into Hoylu, they'll see all the relevant plans or workspaces that they need to be a part of. And to invite them, it's as simple as clicking share, right? And then if I come down to here, I can just import my project users and it'll import the whole list, and then I can just select who needs access. Very simple, very easy, especially when you have larger projects and you need to invite, you need to simplify that whole kind of startup experience. So I just wanted to kind of do a quick aside to illustrate that because I think it's really important outside of just general functionality. So here we are, we're going back into the workspace here. And let's start from scratch, okay? So right now we have 4 columns, we have no dates on them. And we do that intentionally, right? Maybe we want to have an anchor date that's 6 months out and we're planning for something that's in the future. You want to be able to set it up as such. Or maybe you just want to sequence a bunch of activities without any dates on them at all, right? Which is a common workflow that we've seen. And then you put dates on them after the fact. That's how you can get started. But for today's demonstration, we're just going to set an anchor date for today. First day of the week is going to be a Monday, and our default work days, right, will just be Monday through Friday. If you were working on a big project, you're working 24/7, you wouldn't have to have, you would include the weekends as part of your work days. So I click OK, and now you can see I have dates that have populated into this plan. All right, and so from here, we can start to build out this timeline a little bit. So I'm going to extend the plan out a little bit. We'll add, I don't know, let's just add, we'll add like 30 weeks to the plan. And so you can see it's starting to fill out. And then this particular week that we're on now is highlighted blue. So that always gives me a visual indicator of where we are at any moment in time. Excuse me. And the other thing you'll notice before I get into anything is that we're looking at a weekly view. And this is intentional, right? We find that it's a hell of a lot easier to start off planning at a weekly level and then drilling down to a daily level, right? So I can tell you we're gonna rough in electrical this week. Maybe I don't know exactly what those days are, and I'll have to drill in and get a little bit more specific. So we give you both those different viewing options, which can certainly come in handy. So now that we have our timeline set up, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna set up my trades. So I'm going to go into my toolbox here, and that's this little icon you see, right? So again, if you're looking kind of around Hoylu from top to bottom, there's not a lot of buttons to click, and that is intentional. We try to keep it as simple as possible so people can get in, learn the tool, do what they need to do, and not waste a lot of time trying to get in the weeds on new technology. So if I go into my inbox and I click on my settings here, there's only a couple of things I need to do. So I'm going to go into my trades, and you can see Ryan added a couple here, but I could go in, add trade, and then I could add an additional one. Maybe we'll just say painter for fun. I could add a crew size for crew size tracking, which we'll talk about later, time permitting. I could add a link if relevant, and then also a description. Click that. Now I have my trades in here. And then we have our user assignments. And so this is where you'd go in, and you can assign a user to a specific trade. So in this case, all 3 of us are admins, but like I showed you before, importing the project users, I could go in and I could assign those users to one or multiple trades as needed. And then a few other things, right? We have our variance reasons. So this is if something doesn't go according to plan, right? We want to have a record of what went wrong and why. This is where you can customize that list of variance reasons. And then we have our CSV import settings. Which today we're not going to demonstrate that, but I should mention it because I know it comes up quite a bit. So for this demo, we're just going to create things from scratch. However, we do have some teams that prefer to start, by bringing some things in from like a project or P6, and we do have some pretty slick import functionality for bringing those, kind of the bones of a schedule in, a master schedule in. So. Not relevant for this crowd, but I do want to mention that we do have that functionality. So now let's go in and create a couple of tasks and show you the basics of how the tool works. So before I do that, I'll set up a milestone. So I'll just grab a milestone. I'm going to drop it above my timeline here. And so you can see I have a milestone for next week. And let's simulate this a little bit, because one of the big benefits of Hoylu is it's very, very collaborative. So in real time, Ryan, myself, and I don't see Melissa's face on here, but I know she's in here because I can see her name in my little toolbox down here. So we'll all take a roll, right? So Ryan, why don't you be the drywaller, and then Melissa, you can be our GC, and I'll be the electrician. And so we'll go in and we'll each create a task simultaneously, and you'll see those tasks populate here in our inbox. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to click the plus icon, and since I'm an admin, I have access to all the trades. If I was assigned a specific trade, it would default to that trade. So I said I'm the electrician, so I'll select electrical, and we'll say rough-in electrical. I could add a link to this ticket, which is helpful. Maybe you have, drawings in SharePoint, or submittal in a tool like FieldWire or Procore, PlanGrid, whatever it may be. You can add a link to the ticket. I'll just say Procore for now. Description, right? Rough-in electrical on first floor. It's going to take me 2 days, 2 people, and by default, we're skipping weekends and holidays. I click save, and now by the time I was done creating one ticket, my colleagues came in and created their tickets as well. And so if we were really efficient, and for demonstration purposes, I'll do all this, but if we were really efficient, I could say, all right, next couple of weeks, everyone just throw in their activities, and then we'll kind of go through it together. And so something that maybe would take 2-3 hours, you could get done in a couple of minutes, because it's really that simple. So to bring tasks into the timeline here and start to sequence them, all I have to do is just click and drag them in. So we have our inspection for next week, and we will try to hang drywall and rough-in electrical this current week. And so before I go in and start to work through these, you'll see that I have a live view of my PPC for the week. I have the number of tickets, and then I also have my estimated manpower for the week up here in the top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the week, and we're going to start to sequence these. Excuse me. And so how I'm going to do that is, we're going to try to hang our drywall on Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll rough in our electrical on Monday and Tuesday. And notice now is that both of these tickets are in a planned state, and that's what this calendar icon is indicating. But one thing that I already know, right, is I can't hang drywall until I have electrical in the wall. So I need to create a relationship here. And so how I would do that is simply, when I'm hovering over the ticket, there's this little dot up here. I just simply click on that dot, drags out an arrow, drag it over to this next task, and now you can see I've created a relationship, and that's indicated by this arrow on the ticket itself. And then if I want to take it one step further, right, I have my inspection here. I know that obviously I need to inspect something, so the drywall needs to be done before I can run that inspection. So I'm going to create a relationship there. And so now if I am looking at this drywall task, I can clearly see that I have an upstream and a downstream dependency, or multiple, right? And so if I wanted to visually see those, I just simply click on it, and it gives me a list of all my upstream and downstream dependencies, or predecessors, successors, however you want to refer to them. Excuse me. So what's also nice is, again, if you're new and you're not quite familiar with how to navigate, I want to go see where that inspection is downstream. I'll simply click on the little waypoint here, and boom, it'll zoom me right over to that next task in the sequence. So very, very simple to navigate. All right, so now let's go in and let's kind of work through these. So I'm the electrician, right? I'm saying that I'm going to be able to get this done on Monday and Tuesday, so I'm going to commit to it by simply clicking that calendar icon, clicking commit, and now you can see that has been locked in place. All right, so the subcontractor, the only thing that they would be able to do now is mark it as complete or incomplete. They could not make any changes to this ticket. Excuse me. So if I mark it as complete, great, right? We get the nice check mark, we're good to go. and you can see we have 50% PPC for the week. We're doing great. However, as we know, things don't always go according to plan, so I'm going to mark this as incomplete. And as you can tell from my cough, right, maybe I'm sick, and I have COVID or something, and labor is not available. So I'll mark it as labor not available. And now that variance reason will be attached to this ticket if I were to open it up and take a look at why it was marked as incomplete. And so the other thing you'll notice is we don't actually force you to move that ticket that was marked as incomplete. We just mark it with an X, and we want to have a record of what went wrong and why, and when it was originally planned for. What we do is we take a duplicate of that original task, and you can see the dotted line back to the original, so you can go in and you can replan it. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go and replan this, and I think what we will do is we will try to rough in our electrical, the same days that we're going to hang our drywall. And what you'll notice is now both of these tasks are highlighted red, giving us a warning visualization. We don't automatically move things, right? The point of this is, like, if you were in person, right, if there was two dependent tasks on each other and they were scheduled for the same day, what would you do? You would have a conversation with those folks and say, okay, can we do these on the same day, or do we need to make adjustments to the plan? And so perhaps, right, Ryan and I have a conversation and we say, yep, we can do both these things on the same day. We can make it happen. I'll come in early and you start late, whatever it may be, that's great. And then if I just click on my little downstream, this little red downstream arrow here, it gives me the ability to, you see in the downstream, there's a little warning icon. I click on that. Confirm that task can run in parallel. I click resolve, and now the conflict has been resolved. So this is a great way to visually indicate where you might have potential problems with the plan. You go in, you have your conversations, and you make adjustments as needed. So, but let's say that, and same thing if, we had a lag too, right? If we had a lag, same thing. I'd go in and I would mark that as, it would be okay. But let's say that Ryan, he needed 2 full days. We couldn't overlap at all. No lag was acceptable. So what I could do there is I will take this drywall task and I'll move it to Friday, and then it'll spill into the following week. And now you'll notice that we have a new potential conflict, because our inspection, let's say it's happening at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, and we can't hang drywall on Monday. So we have to get it done if we want to stay on schedule here. So maybe we make a decision, you know what, sorry, Ryan, your crew is going to have to come in on Saturday, even though it's a non-working day, and finish up and do some overtime. And so to make that adjustment, I would simply click on the task, skip weekends and holidays. I would deselect this, click save, and now it allows me to work on this Saturday. And now all is well in the world. We're good to go. We can complete this sequence on time. But maybe one thing that we want to do is we want to indicate that, hey, we're going to have to pay overtime for this crew, because they're working on Saturday and it's going to cost us more. And so what I could do to visualize that is, if I hover over, you'll see this little icon here. This is our custom label solution, which is seems simple, but there's so many different use cases for it. So if I click on this, I can add a custom label to this ticket. And it could be anything that I want. In this case, we're going to call it overtime. But yeah, you can see Ryan just created one that says critical. It could say, day shift versus night shift, a specific person, safety concern, whatever it may be. You can add that. And then later on, we'll show you how you can actually run custom reports based off of these labels. For example, now we have this one that's indicated as overtime. Let's say I had, over the next 6 weeks, I wanted to see how many tasks I was going to have to pay overtime on, right? I could, and who they were associated with. I could run a custom report based on that. So yeah, it looks like, yeah, there we go. So there you go. So that's just the basics of how you can operate day to day within Hoylu. Another thing I want to illustrate real quick before we go over to reporting is, right now we're just working in one swim lane. If I wanted to add an additional swim lane, all I'd have to do is take any asset, drop it below this line, and it would automatically create a new swim lane, right? I could rename it if I wanted to and color code it. And you can set up your swim lanes ahead of time. You don't have to do it on the fly like I just did, but it's really quite, that simple, and there's no limit to the amount that you can create. So that's the basics. The next thing I want to show you, because we're already coming up against it here, is real quick, I want to show you some of the reporting functionality within Hoylu. So some of the really nice reporting features that we have within Hoylu. If I click here, I have my insights panel and my weekly work plan. And I'm just going to quickly buzz through this because we're running low on time. But in my insights panel, I can look at information by task type, right? Planned, complete, incomplete, unplanned. I can look at it by week or by trade. I can look at my variance reasons, again, by week or by trade. Same with my PPC, by trade, by week. And then last but not least, my crew size. I can run reports based on my crew size by week or by trade. And what's nice about this too is it's all dynamic and customizable. So in this case, I'm looking at my PPC by trade, but maybe I just want to look at my PPC in area 1, and I just want to look at these particular subs, and I only want to look at this stretch of time here. And you can see, right, that as I'm clicking these different options, the charts are updating in real time. And so now in this instance, okay, everyone's doing good, but my HVAC is kind of only at 60% for this duration. So we need to go have a conversation and see what we can do to get them back on track. And then if you wanted to share these reports, it's as simple as clicking this button. It just copies it as an image file, and then I can email it, throw it in a PowerPoint, send it as an instant message, whatever I want to do. Quick and easy to share. And again, those labels too, right? So if I have those custom labels, I can generate these reports based off of that. So very simple, very straightforward, gives you the information you need. And then last but not least, my personal favorite are weekly work plans. So with our weekly work plans, right, I just click export to PDF, and I have a nice, clean, digestible document that I can share with whomever I need to, showing all my tasks, in this case for 4 weeks, my manpower, both at an swiveling level and overall for the project for that duration. And it's a little bit different of a view. So it's a lot easier for folks to digest as opposed to someone having to go into the plan and look at it that way. And again, these are also dynamic. So maybe I want to just look at my weekly work plan for area 1, and I want to look at it, from a week, a certain number of weeks, or I want to look at it as 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks, or even like a little mini, phase plan, like 12 weeks here. I can customize that, and as I mentioned before, those labels. So if I wanted to look at all my, critical tasks or those overtime tasks for a certain amount of time, I can customize this, and it'll all update for me, and then I can share it with my team. And then last but not least, right, these are all clickable. So if I, for example, were to go to a weekly work plan of just warnings, I could go in and I could look at all my warnings, and then I could click on a particular task and it would zoom me right over there in the plan, as you can see here. So I have 2 minutes left in my allocated time. I know I covered a lot of information pretty quickly, but hopefully everyone that's viewing found it interesting enough to want to learn more and do a deeper dive. And thank you for your time, and we can take a couple quick questions if that's what we want to do. So thank you.
Well, at the moment, I don't have any questions, so we are good there. I will tell you that Zach and Ryan will be receiving a copy of any questions or plus deltas that you have. So go ahead and put any feedback that you have, any questions that you have into the questions box, which is at the bottom of the control panel, and we'll be sending those on to Ryan and Zach directly. So go ahead and take care of that for us. We'd love to get that feedback from you in the spirit of continuous improvement. Go ahead and put those plus deltas in there. So while we're wrapping that up, I do want to let you know that you can visit Hoylu, Ryan, and Zach at booth number 213 at the LCI Congress, which is in New Orleans this year, October 18th through 21st. So be sure and put that on your calendar. Be sure and register. And they have some, I do believe, awesome stuff up in the silent auction for us as well. So you'll be able to find out more information about that on our silent auction page on our lcicongress.org/2022. Look up silent auction in the blue bar at the top, and you'll be able to see all of that information there as well. The silent auction proceeds are going to go to Uncommon Construction, which is a New Orleans-based charity. If you'd like to find out more information about that, you can go to our silent auction page as well. So it's 1:30. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Hoylu for presenting and all of you for attending today. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you at our Congress. Thanks you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.